Well, hello, 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 and welcome back to the Naked and Truth podcast. It is me, Sari D, the host and creator, and I am very grateful to have a very special guest with us on here today. We have the one and the only Mr. Frederick Henderson. Do you want to say hey to everybody, Frederick?
What's good, everybody? How y'all doing?
So, we have him on the podcast today to teach us his story because, man, this guy has grinded it out from the bottom all the way up to the top, in my opinion. And I think that you are going to learn a lot, not only just about him, but about how you can use some of those skill sets, mindset in your own life as you're trying to level up as well. So, we are going to get straight into it here. So, I really just want to start out by you letting the listeners know where you are now, what you do for work. What does your life kind of look like?
So I am a personal trainer, privately have my own personal training spot. I'm a sponsored athlete. I'm with the brand Ghost. I'm sure a lot of people know about it.
Yes,
The biggest
absolutely.
supplement
Huge
brand.
brand.
Yeah, it's the biggest supplement brand in the world. So I'm blessed to be a part of them. So I'm right outside of Los Angeles, California. So I was born and raised in Los Angeles, but now I'm about an hour, 15 minutes away, in a desert area.
Got
I
out of
love
that
it.
big city life a little bit, hey?
Yeah, I know, absolutely. I literally live like 1 block away is that we have a big old private lake. So I'm like, yeah,
This
no
is where I need to
complaints.
be, hey?
Yep, no complaints.
I love it. So, when it comes to your childhood, you grew up a little bit different than most of us, right? You were in South
Yes.
Central LA. You had a really big family. What did that kind of look like?
It was chaotic, man. So I had six sisters. Well, I have six sisters. I have one brother. It was a lot of chaos, man. A lot of chaos. And I'm the second youngest, so um, you learn a lot about how to protect your own.
Yeah.
Like I said, I grew up in the gang era. The gang era you guys see on the news, like that's the era I grew up in South Central LA. So it
So
was
that's the thing. A lot of listeners don't know what that really looks like, what that
I
vibe is
tell
like, and raising 8 kids in that area
yeah,
too.
yeah, like the thing is like it's a lot of crabs in a barrel. That's the best way I can explain it. And it's like
Okay.
everybody's trying to get out, but in the process of trying to get out, it's everybody crawling over each other to
Yeah.
get out.
And so where are everybody's kind of hopes and dreams looking when they have that vision of trying to get out of that barrel?
Honestly, when you're where I'm from, you either sell drugs or you play sports.
It
Like
just that's it. Hey, you have
that's what it
no.
was. That's what it was. Like seriously, like you play sports or you sold drugs or you're in a gang. That was
Absolutely
it.
wild. Well,
Yep.
so you were being the second youngest, so you obviously had some leadership from your older siblings in some sort of way.
Yes.
And so how did that go for navigating? Like, were you able to have some good protection, some good people around you because of the fact that you
Yeah.
had so many different ages kind of looking out for you?
Yeah, absolutely. My sisters are still very, very defensive of me. I'm still a little brother. I'm 43, but I'm still a little
Still the
brother.
wee one.
Yep, that's never gonna change. My funny story, my mom just called me about 2 hours ago and she's like, I'm just calling to make sure you're all right, son. I'm like, Mom, I'm 43 years old. Like, I take care of you.
Yeah.
Like, like what are you talking about? I'm good.
That's so sweet. Well, I'm glad that you got so many ladies looking out for you. And I really think that that is why you have such a big heart yourself is because you got raised that way by so many lovely ladies around you. So
Surrounded.
when it comes to that though, and you're growing up, what did it look like your future was looking like? Like what were your hopes and dreams as you were kind of growing from a child?
Honestly, like my day consisted of surviving. Like that's what it was. My day consisted of just survival. I was in survival mode every day. Just when you're from those areas, a lot of times you learn to keep your head on the swivel. That's one thing my parents always taught me, like keep your head on the swivel, pay attention to what's going on, pay
Around you.
attention to if something doesn't feel right, do
Trust your
this or do
gut.
that. Yeah, trust your gut, your instincts, stuff like that. Because my mom and my dad, they separated early.
Okay.
So my mom she was a breadwinner, so she was working. My mom was working. So it was mom,
Unbelievable.
yeah. So like I can go on forever about her. Like I can
No
use
doubt, grinding it out, single
yeah,
mom, 8 kids,
yeah.
like guys.
I can't even remember honest to God truth, I can't remember a time where where she went. I'm being 100% honest with you. I can't remember a single time where she went out and like when she was like, just like, son, I'm going out with my friends. Like, I'll be back. I'll be back later. I can't even remember. I can't pinpoint one time where she ever went out and did something for herself. I can't.
She was busy grinding out, making
Yeah,
sure that
she
she
was.
had food on the
Yeah,
table.
yep. She was doing what she needed to do.
Wow. And like, does that ever humble somebody really recognizing of, especially I feel like you see it when you're younger, but you don't really notice it until you're older. And
Yeah,
that's when it really hits you, is it in your adulthood when you're trying to grind out and you're like, holy shit, how did she do
yeah.
this? This is
Exactly.
crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it. Giving me chills, buddy. That's amazing. Okay. So you're looking at your future. You're like, hey, at this point in time, I just need to try to survive, right? So does that mean that survival mode is you trying to fit in with sports? Were you trying to fit in with certain groups of people? What did survival mode look like for you?
No, so I was fortunate. I was always an athlete, so
Okay.
I hung around with a lot of athletes, and usually those guys are usually on the right path. So
Yeah. Keep you
I
out of
had my
trouble.
own. Yeah, I had my, and I was quiet. I was quiet. That's it's so contrary to what I am now. I was so quiet. Like, I mean,
Hmm.
quiet. So I played ball.
Okay.
I knew a lot of popular people because I played sports, and everybody wanted me to play sports because they knew I could play. So they always wanted me on a team and stuff like that. But I'm the kind of person like I go hoop or play football or baseball, and then I go on about my business. I take off and go do whatever I wanted to do. Go home, play video game, chill, relax.
Absolutely. So did it look like there was going to be a future in sports for you? Because I know that a lot of people's dreams are like, I want to be a baller. I want to go
Well,
to the big times.
I had opportunities, but I never like
Double down on
honestly,
them, really?
I never really thought about it professionally. No.
Okay, so you made it through your school years. You had some good people around you. You're still in South Central LA, right? So now you're starting to graduate, and where does your life look like it's starting to go for you?
So this is the thing. Uh my ninth grade year, I was supposed to go to high school in Los Angeles. And my mom, I remember like yesterday, she came to me and she was like, we're moving. And I'm like, moving? I'm like,
What?
wait, I'm like, what are you talking about? She's like, we're moving, we're leaving LA. And I'm like, okay, well, where are we going? And she's like, we're going to the city is called Azusa. And I'm like, Azusa, like, what the heck is that? So she's like, it's about about an hour east of here. So I'm like, okay. So I remember going out there. We went out there, and it was completely different. It's a small suburb. It's a really small suburb,
Okay, I haven't
and
even heard of it before.
oh yeah. So like, it's a beautiful city. It's a really small
Okay.
suburb, and we go look at the house, and we're walking through the house, and the house has a swimming pool, and that's the first time like I ever seen a swimming pool in the house, and she was like, yeah, like I'm not. She's like, my son's like not, you know, it's like my youngest son ain't going to school in LA. It's not happening. So we moved there. That's where I formed a lot of myself and my business acumen. That's where a lot of things happened. Then
Okay.
that was the first time. Like I said, so I grew up in LA in the early '90s, '80s, '90s. Like this is when neighborhoods were. I mean, literally, you had black neighborhoods, white neighborhoods, Hispanic neighborhoods.
Hispanic, yeah.
It wasn't blended at all. I mean, it really was not blended. So
Unbelievable.
so I never in my youth I didn't have any white friends. There was none around. There was
Yeah.
none around. So when I moved to Azusa, that's the first time I ever like met white people. And like
Wow.
actually, yeah, it was crazy. Like some of my best friends are these are my brothers. I've known them for damn near 30 years now, but
And like guys,
that's
think
the
this guy's in his teen years when he's first starting to meet his
yeah,
first white person
yeah,
where he's like, what
yeah.
the heck is
Seriously,
this? You know?
yeah, seriously. And
Wild.
that's when I found out about structure.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
remember
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
told you I lived in chaos.
Chaos.
That's when I first found out about structure. One of my best friends, his dad was a police officer for 40 years,
Wow.
and they're basically my parents. I call them mom and dad to this day.
Aw.
That was the first time where I had my, like I told you, my mom was always working, so that was the first time I ever had my foot to the fire of when I would go over his house every day. That
Mm.
was the first time I had my foot to the fire where it was 6 o'clock. and they come in the room when we be playing video games. His parents will come in and be like, "It's 6 o'clock. Like, why ain't your butt at the table?
Yeah.
Like,
It's dinner
for
time.
dinner." And I was like, "What? Like, wait, what? What are you talking? Like, what do you mean? Like?"
Yeah.
And they were consistent. It was consistent.
Yeah.
Like, and I would go visit them on the weekends. And it was like 9 a.m. Like, I would, whatever time I would go. If I would go, he had the lawn needed to be done at 9. And if I was over there, it was like, go help your brother do the lawn. Like, that's the first time I ever had structure in my life. And I was like, oh, dang, like, okay, like I get it.
And what's really interesting about that is that even though you knew that you were kind of surviving at home, you still loved your life at home. You still loved your family. That's what you knew. But at the end of the day, I think that us as humans really do crave structure and routine and schedule without even realizing it. And until we are in those situations, we don't actually realize how comforting it is. Whereas when you're in the opposite spectrum and maybe you're born and raised in a lot of structure, sometimes you're just like, you go to Ira, because that used to be me. Okay. So my mom was like on the ball with absolutely everything because she was at home all the time. So her eye never missed a beat. Whereas your mom couldn't possibly look at everything going on at home and work her ass off. Right.
Yep,
so
impossible.
with her always being there, I would go to other people's houses and like their room would be messy. And I'd be like, I just want my room to be messy, not understanding how blessed I was to have a mom who wanted to keep my room clean. And that meant that our house had a lot of structure in it. Right. But I would go to these houses that maybe had a bit more chaos in them. And I actually craved it, which is very interesting because then you went into that situation and you're like, damn, this feels good. So it's just funny how that grass is always greener on the other side. Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, okay. So they're teaching you this about structure. So do you think that if you wouldn't have gone here in your grade 9 year, that maybe you wouldn't have graduated, maybe you wouldn't have been as successful staying in South Central as what you were in Azusa?
Most definitely. I learned so many skills, being moving. It taught me so much. I got introduced to different ways of doing things, different music that I never ever listened to. I remember I would call my boys back in LA and I would talk to them, and it was like, you know what it was? It reminded me of like the story like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like that. That's what it reminded me of. My boys thought like my childhood friends, they thought I was rich because I had a pool. They was like, bro, you got a pool? I'm like, bro,
I'm sitting here thinking you're rich with that pool, of
nah.
course.
Yeah, they're like, bro, you got a pool. Let me tell you something, man. I swam in that pool so much, the bottom of my feet were like, they were just raw. Like, it was raw. Like, my mom was like, get your butt out that pool. I'm like, man, nah. It was
this
like,
is a luxury, Mom.
Yeah, it's different. Like, so like when they say like you can't let's say you can't appreciate the sun, like if it wasn't for rain, like you wouldn't have any context. So it's the same thing, right? Like those things make you.
Absolutely.
Those tough situations, they make you, right? So
and it opened so many doors for you as well. So like,
absolutely.
Right? So when you're looking at your high school years, were you working at the time? Were you just going to school? What did that kind of look like?
Just school. That was it. Just school. So when the crazy part is, this is the irony. When I moved and I started going to high school in Azusa, there was about like my freshman year, 92. There's about 4 Black students in the whole school.
No way.
Yeah, like 4 Black students. It was a predominant Hispanic school.
Really?
There was I have some crazy stories. It was a Mexican gang out there, and they had a lot of energy into like removing the Black community. So
really?
I would fight. Yeah. Oh yeah. Documented. I would fight every day. I would literally get in fights every day. I was 14 years old. Me and 2 of my friends had to go to court. I had to go to court and testify because 3 grown adults tried to kill me. Like, yeah, I've been through a lot. Like, yeah, in front of my buddies, and we're in front of my buddy's apartment complex. We're in front of an apartment complex, and this city is beautiful. It's a beautiful city. We're in front of an apartment complex, and there's 3 grown men, like grown adults. We're kids. I was in 9th grade, and they pulled out knives. We tried to run, but one of my buddies fell, so we had to run back. We're kids. Like, we ran back to go help
guy
him.
behind though, right?
Yeah, we ran back and we had to help him, and then like it's Yeah, I was forced through fire, like for real. That's why I tell people, like, you're capable of doing anything, because
Yeah.
I don't think I'm special. I just think my biggest superpower is my perseverance. So
Mm.
I'll never let one situation. I tell my daughters this. I have 3 daughters, so I tell them, I say you're allowed to have bad moments, but I refuse to let you live in those moments.
So good.
Yeah,
You can, and that's the thing, and I think that that's so important, is that it's important to recognize the emotions that you're going through, but you don't have to stay there, right?
yeah. Don't live in them.
Oh, that is such good advice, especially I love watching guys raise strong women. I think that that's so important.
Yeah,
So you're really, you are in a better spot, but life is still so hard day in and day out, trying to just live. Like, guys, he is
absolutely.
literally just trying to live as a
Yep.
preteen. So many of us don't even have an idea of what this could even feel like for survival mode. Like, don't get
Yeah.
me wrong, all of us have walked home from school and been bullied along the way, but this is
Yeah.
a whole new level of survival mode. Okay.
Yeah.
So really, you're you made it through your high school years, thank God. And then did you decide to go and get a job? What did you think kind of graduation looks like for you now?
So after school, I had some buddies that worked at restaurants. So I was like, some buddies was like, yo, you can get a restaurant job. It's really easy. So I went and got a restaurant job at Denny's. I was a
We have
busboy.
Denny's here in Canada
Yeah,
too, so we know
I was
what's
a
up.
busboy. I was a busboy at Denny's, and it's funny how God works, because that's when everything changed.
Mm.
I was at Denny's, and I was bussing tables. It was a gentleman. I was bussing tables outside of a patio, and there was a guy out there, and he asked me for something, and we talked a little bit. I went and got it for him. Came back, and he told me, he goes, man, like, I really like how you speak. And I was like, okay, like, all right, well, I appreciate it, thank you. And he's like, no, like, I really do. You're very articulate for your age. And he gave me a card, and it said Jordan King, and it said executive for Bank of America. And
Wow.
he said, give me a call. So I went home, and I called him the next day, and he said, can you come down to Orange County, which is about an hour and a half away. Orange County is, I mean, that's the money. That's the money area right there. You got
You're like,
Newport,
I'm
Laguna
going where the
Beach.
rich people are, right?
Yeah. So I went down there, and I talked to him and I talked to him and then the president and the vice president of finance. And
Wow.
um, they were like, yo, like, we have a position for you at the bank. Like, if you're interested. And I was like, absolutely, I'm interested. And
Let's just stop
I,
and recap this here. So, like, literally coming out of high school, fighting for his life, goes and gets a job as a busboy serving, ends
yep,
up getting just standing out, and somebody being like, yo, I think that you have a lot
yeah,
of potential, and not
yep,
just like a small company. This is Bank of America, people.
yeah,
Okay.
giant.
Now he's going to a city that he didn't ever really imagine himself ever being in, especially to talk business.
Yep.
And now he just got hired at Bank of America.
Yeah, and I'm there, and like the first, I've never. The job was paid, but it was also incentive based, and a lot of it is based on how you speak to people. And I worked my butt off, and I got a big promotion in like less than like 6 months, and then I became a manager. I became a supervisor there in like about 8 months. It was fast.
What?
It was fast. Like, I literally went from. I mean, back then I was probably making like. I literally went from like making about maybe $12 an hour as a busboy to I mean, I was 19, 20 years old, and I was making, and you gotta understand, I'm 43, it's 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I was making like $50,000 a year.
Holy smokes, that's insane.
I was like,
No
man,
schooling, no
no,
education, guys.
nope,
Like, this is just picked
yeah,
out of the restaurant.
yep, just straight hustle. So like one of my biggest things I tell, 'cause I mentor so many people, I tell people one of my superpowers is I'm good in a room full of gangsters, and I'm good in a room full of CEOs.
Mm.
Like, I'm good, and I'm comfortable there. I don't have to fake it. I'm comfortable
Your
in
personality
both.
flows with both sides.
Yeah, I'm comfortable. So like, you gotta be well rounded. My
Mhm.
my dad used to tell me when I was in high school. My dad, I never understood it when I was younger, but my dad used to always tell me, I would wear, like, we're kids. You wear sweatpants and t-shirts to school, And my dad would always tell me, he'd like, Dad, he'd like, son, put on a nice pair of pants. And I'm like, Dad, I'm going to school. Like, I'm going to do schoolwork. He's like, nah, put on a nice pair of pants and a nice shirt. And I didn't understand it until I got older. Because he was like, he wanted me to stand out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really cool, those lessons that you learn from your parents along the way. Hey, like even to my dad was never leave the house in sweatpants, right? You always got to put a pair of jeans on. And so it's just, it's cool because they really do stick. And so like you're looking at your success here and to be honest with you, you climbing the ladder so quickly doesn't really surprise me because of the trait that you said that you think is one of your strongest, and that's perseverance. Because at the end of the day, if you're not allowing yourself to get flustered, like, let's be honest, people get really weird about their finances, right? Like they can be pretty intense, and the people take a lot of shit at the bank. And there's a reason why they have a little sign that says, like, if you're going to be abusive, like, we're not going to tolerate you. So you need to understand that when you're working with really big accounts and lots of money, there's a lot of pressure that's on your back. And so you being able to handle yourself the way that you do, in myself personally, is what I think really accelerated that more than the average person, because at the end of the day, it's the shit that gets us flustered that holds us back, right? It's true. So okay, very cool. So you're climbing the ladder really quickly, learning lots of really cool things. And what is your career starting to look like? What's your lifestyle starting to look like?
Lifestyle definitely changed extremely. By then, I was so young, making so much money that I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be a lifer. Like, I'm gonna be a lifer in the finance industry. This is what I'm gonna do. Because we're doing everything. I was going to watch the Laker games and private boxes and stuff like that.
Living a life that you would have never even dreamt of, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. So it was I had 35, 40 people up under me that I was managing, so it was
big teams.
It was a big change. Yeah. It was a big change, being able to do what I wanted to do and when I wanted to do it. So that it was a big deal.
So then now that you are climbing the ladder and you're thinking that you're going to be there, something started to happen though, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And what's that?
So I was living a very sedentary lifestyle. So I wasn't moving around very much. I was completely catered to. If I needed somebody to go get my dry cleaning, somebody to go get me lunch, I'd literally just snap a finger and it got done.
He's truly living the life, guys. Like, not even having to go and pick up that lunch. Nope. Like that's how high end he is at Bank of America now. Just keep that in mind.
Yeah, I had a big window office. It was beautiful. But then I had a reality check. I had a heart attack because I was about 415 pounds. And
holy smokes. And can you let the listeners know what age you were roughly?
So when I had my heart attack, I was about, let me get it right. I was about 30, maybe 31, 32.
Okay.
Yeah, 31, 32. I was at the bank for a while. 31, 32.
And guys, like, I'm coming close to that age right now. And like, to think of having a heart attack at this age is mind blowing. Okay. So, so give us the whole story of what happened there.
So I was at home. I actually took off work because I was at home. I thought I was sick.
Okay.
And I was just in bed, laying down, relaxing. And it kept getting progressively worse, like Monday, Tuesday, worse. And I called my mom to talk to her just to, chop it up with her, see how she was doing. And she asked me how I was doing. I was like, I'm all right, blah, 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 blah. And then she goes, all right, I'm going to check on you tomorrow. So she called me the next day. I told her the same thing. I'm not feeling too great. I couldn't even walk from my bedroom to my kitchen. It was that bad. It was bad. I was like, man, I got the flu or something. And so she called me again and she's like, if you're feeling like this on Sunday, I'm coming over. So she called me Sunday and she's like, how are you feeling? And I'm like, I'm still feeling the same. So she came to the house. She was like, you're going to the hospital. So we got in the car and she drove me over to the hospital.
Okay.
And we went to emergency. And when I walked into emergency, I'll never forget this. It was a guy, he was a nurse. He's like, I walk in, he's like, you, he's like pointing at me. He's like, you come with me right now. And I'm like, what? Like, it's an emergency room full of people. Like, what do you mean? Like, why me?
Why am I going first? Yeah.
Yeah. And he's like, he told me, he goes, look at your ankles. And my ankles was like, I had edema. So it was like filled with water.
Wow.
Like they were like massive, like huge. And he's like, look at your wrists, man. And I was like, oh, yeah. And I'm like, oh, shoot. Like I didn't even notice it. So they took me in the back. So when you have heart, it's potassium, magnesium. They always put you on like a potassium
Yeah.
magnesium drip a lot of times. So did that, and they give you like an aspirin, usually for your blood pressure.
Yeah.
And they were like, man, you suffered like a major heart attack.
Unbelievable. And
Uh,
I find men have such strong pain points sometimes that what they're willing to like stay at home and
yeah,
not see the
yeah,
doctor over is freaking
yep.
crazy. And they're
It's
like doubled
ridiculous.
over. And like, to be honest, sometimes that's the hardest part about being overweight as well, is that you don't notice things as quickly because you're so used to feeling like crap. If I can be
Yeah,
honest with you, you're
no,
so used to being
absolutely.
tired. You're so used to being out of breath. And then to top it all off, when you swell really bad like that, sometimes you don't
Yeah,
necessarily notice,
yep,
you know what I mean? And because I know
yep.
that some people might be like, yeah, right. But it's like, it's true, guys. And so, okay, so you're in the hospital and they're like, you already had a heart attack.
Yeah, and then they basically, they basically told me like, we don't know if you're gonna make it. They're like, we don't know. So for all my nurses out there, there's a stat for your heart. It's called a heart infraction. I believe the average heart infraction is like 65 or 70. Mine was 4, like 4. 4 out of it's supposed to be 65 or 70. It was 4. So they were like, my doctor, he actually told me, he was like, look, man, like call your family and friends because like we don't know. Like
Just
we
getting
don't
mad
know.
goosebumps listening
I
to
know
this. This is
I get goosebumps
crazy.
every time I tell people this, like it happens. But yeah, he's like, call your friends. So I call my best friend. Shout out to my boy Keith. He came down and we sat and we just talked, man. We just talk and talk and talk. And I'm like, bruh, like that's the first time I told him, like, bro, I'm scared, bro. Like I'm scared. So I told him, I was like, bro, you gotta pray with me, dog. Like, I'm like, you gotta pray with me, bro. So he was like, all right, man. All right. So we prayed on it. I had so many. So like I told you, I being a bank manager, I lead a lot of men and women. I had so many people show up. The doctor, they thought it was my church. They was like, bro, is this your like for real? They was like, bro, is this your church? Like, what is going on? Like, we never. And they was like, are you famous or something?
And this
I'm
was
like,
back
nah,
in the day where they were a lot more chill about people coming to visit as well
yeah,
compared to where they
yeah.
are today.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it was like people in and out, one after the other, in and out, in and
Oh,
out, in and out. And then the lighthearted story about this, my niece, um, she was so little. It's so funny because she's about to graduate high school now, but she
wow.
was so little at the time, and she couldn't come to the emergency room. And she's like my first baby.
Gotcha.
They let her go. They let her go to where the doors where the ambulance brings people in.
Yeah.
They let her go because like my room was like my bed was right in front of that. So they
Okay.
let her
So she
go
could
to it,
see through.
and she's like jumping up and down, like waving, and I'm like
Oh.
waving back. Yeah. So like, but yeah, that was it. So
It's like,
after
what do you
that,
even have? Like, oh, sorry, if you don't mind me asking, like, what were you even talking to your buddy about at that point? Like, what do you even have?
man,
It's like,
just
dude, like, this might be our last combo.
yeah, no, and we I've known my boy since 93. I've known him since
Nice.
1993. So forever. But we
Yeah.
just had
Before I
a
was even born.
yeah, yeah. Like we talked and we were just chopping it up and just keeping it real. We always been super transparent with each other. So we just talked,
I love it.
said like, like how, he was like kind of like what you gonna do? Like if you get out of here, what you gonna do? So I that night I prayed and I was like, I told God, this is my exact words. I said, God, if you let me make it out of here alive, I said, this is my literal word. I said, God, if you let me make it out of here alive, I will become a wrecking ball. Like, meaning like
Mm,
I will destroy anything that gets in my path. Like anything that's trying to stop my path to being good, like I will be a wrecking ball. Like nothing can stop a wrecking ball.
yeah.
That's what I'll be.
I
So I got
promise
out
I
of the
won't let you down.
Yeah, so I got out of the hospital on July 25th because that's my best friend's birthday. That's how I remember it. July 25th. Um, my mom was driving me home. I stopped at I don't know if you have the CVS pharmacies out there, but
No.
I stopped at it's a popular pharmacy out here. I stopped at CVS pharmacy. I got a sugar-free Gatorade, and then I stopped at Subway and I got a sandwich because I was like, okay, that's healthy.
Yeah.
And then I went home and I ate it. I ate the sandwich, drank the drink, and my mom was hanging out. And she's like, well, what are you going to do for the rest of the day? I'm like, I'm going to the gym. And she was like, no, like, no, you're not. Like, you've been in the hospital for 8 days. I'm
Yeah,
like, nah, I'm going to the gym. Like, so
it's
she
time.
left and I couldn't drive. So um, I caught the 33 bus to the 55 bus, and it dropped me right in front of a fitness gym we have out here. It's called Fitness 19.
Okay.
And I went to Fitness 19 and I started lifting weights. I just was winging it. I was winging it, figuring it out. My bus ride was usually about an hour. So when I got on the bus, I would turn on YouTube and I would look up how to work out. And that's when I got introduced to every fitness influencer you can imagine, from CT Fletcher, Mike Rashid, Christian Guzman. The list
The
goes on and on.
legends.
Yeah, anybody you can think of. I I started doing their workouts, and then Chris Jones, and then like it just all started. The weight started to come off, and I was like, okay, like I think I can do this. And then
Yeah.
I remember going to I had to see a new doctor. Her name is Dr. McKinney. Shout out Dr. McKinney. She I remember talking to her and she would ask me about like my daily habits. And I was telling her the stuff I used to eat and this, that, and the other. And I remember an awesome conversation I had with her. She said, what vegetables do you eat? Now, mind you, she's Jamaican. She got a hard accent. She goes, what vegetables do you eat? I go, I don't eat vegetables. I just don't eat vegetables. And I'm gonna tell you this, the statement that she told me that stuck with me to this day. She looked me in the eye and she said, in her heavy accent, she said, what kind of grown man don't eat vegetables? And I
Oh
said,
shit.
yeah, exactly. And I said, oh shit, like you right. Like it put everything in perspective. It wasn't even about
Yeah.
like the vegetables. It was just like, what kind of grown man like
Look
don't
after yourself is what she's saying,
yeah,
right?
like
Like,
you're a grown man. Like, what
get
do
your
you mean
shit
you don't eat
together,
vegetables?
buddy.
Yeah, like you've grown, like, so I was like, oh damn. So that really put things into perspective for me. And yeah, man, I just kept going at it, working out, and not to go too far, but there was I was doing it for I was probably a little bit over 100 pounds down,
Okay.
maybe a little bit more. And I
Wow.
went to my very first Fit Expo, and
Which is
I'm
like
walking.
such an exciting time too, because like, let's be honest, like you've been watching these guys on YouTube and
Yeah,
like, let's kick this, like, this has got to be just over 10 years ago, right?
yeah, yeah,
Roughly. So,
yeah.
like you think guys, like this was really starting to just be a really big
Oh
thing.
yeah,
Like
it
this
was
was
like just taking off.
popping,
Yeah,
right?
it was just taking off.
Okay. So
And
you get to go to this fitness expo, and are you going by yourself or who are you with?
nah, I went. So I went with my. So this was like it was after. So I was dating. I started dating my fiance, who's now my fiance. We're getting
Love
married
it.
next month. As a matter of fact.
Ooh.
Yeah. So we went to the Fit Expo, and we walking. I just wanted to. I didn't know anything about supplements. So I was like, I'm gonna go and try to learn about supplements. I'm sure this is a great time to do it. So one of my well, I ain't gonna say one of my biggest inspiration for doing what I did was Mike Rashid. Mike Rashid and CT Fletcher was like, that was it. So I'm walking through the Fit Expo, and lo and behold, right at the corner of my eye, I see Mike Rashid, and I'm like, yo, like, oh damn, it's Mike Rashid. So I literally said, under my breath, I said, oh shit, Mike Rashid. My girlfriend at the time, um, she goes, go talk to him. And I'm like, nah, I'm good. And I don't know if you guys follow Mike, if you know Mike. Mike looked me right in the eye. He goes, you just gonna say my name and not come say hi to me? And I'm like, oh shit.
Getting called
So
out. I love it.
yeah. So I walk over there and I talk to him. And I'm like, look, I told him, I said, look, man, I said, I know people ask you for things all the time.
Yeah.
I said, I don't need anything from you. I just want to say thank you. And he's like, for what? And I'm like, man, like you literally, like you saved my life, bro. And he's like, how? So I showed him a picture. I said, I used to weigh 400 pounds. And he's like, man, you full of shit. I'm like, nah, man, I'm serious. Like, I'm serious. Like, I've lost like 160, 170 pounds. And he's like, show me a picture. So I pulled out my phone and I showed him a picture. And he's like, oh, damn. Now, his business partner was there at the time, Sean. And he showed Sean. And he's like typing on my phone. I'm like, what the hell is he doing? So he saves his phone number. It's Mike Rashid. He saves his
This
phone
is
number.
insane.
Yeah, he saves his phone number and he gives me the phone. He's like, look, man, like he goes, stay on it. Like, I'm gonna check on you. And I'm like, okay, like, all right. Like, you're Mike Rashid. I don't know how you're gonna check on me, but and I walked around the Fit Expo and I left. And then maybe like a week later, he texted me. He was like, yo, you still in that gym? And I'm like, yeah, like I'm still in here. And then he would text me every once in a while, like, how's the nutrition going? I'm like, it's going good. And then we just talk back and forth. And then maybe like 2 months after that, he texts me on a random day. And he's like, we want to invite you to the San Diego Fit Expo.
What?
And I'm like, okay, like, well, like, what capacity? He was like, no, just come and hang out. So I went and I hung out in the booth with them. And we just spent the whole day and met everybody. I got to meet everybody. That's when I met the guys from Ghost. I actually met the guys from Ghost that day. They were like, because they were pretty much like a startup. Like, they were like brand new. It was like the
New
first
at that
one.
point, right?
Yeah, they're brand new. And Christian Guzman was there. Max Tuning was there. So I'm like talking to them. I'm talking to the owners of Ghost, Ryan and Dan, the marketing manager, CJ. And the brand, like, it was so like bright and big.
Yeah.
It reminded me of like the shoe culture, like, because they're all in the shoes, like the graffiti. It reminded me of that.
Yep.
Yeah. So I remember telling them that day, I was like, yeah, like, I'm here with Mike Rashid. You know, he invited me down. I was like, man, like, I don't know what y'all got going on over here, but man, like, I want to be a part of this.
This
is crazy. Like, this is crazy. I want to be a part of it. Now, mind you, Christian Guzman was huge. So I remember I have a picture with Christian and Max Tuning. When I told him, I said, give it a little time. I said, I'll be part of Ghost. Like, I'll be part of Ghost. Like, just give us some time.
Yeah, that's
and
exactly
they were like, yeah. And they were like, oh, all right. So then I went back to over there with Mike and them, and we was hanging out doing our thing. After the expo went home, and they contacted me again. They were like, yo, come down to headquarters. So I went down to headquarters, and they offered me a sponsorship. And I was like, what the hell is going on? Like CT Fletcher, like Mike Rashid, like, they're like there right in front of me. I'm like, I watch y'all on YouTube every day. Like, what is going on?
So, like, just to break this down for any of the female followers that are like, I have no idea who this guy is. So this would be like similar to like us going to a beauty expo, Tyra Banks being like, yo, I'm just going to put my number in your phone. And now I'm just going to invite you to our next, expo that we're having. And now I'm just going to come and get you to join our team.
Yeah.
Okay? Like this is huge, guys.
Yeah. It was a big deal. I mean, he's a mogul. He's a mogul. He's a legend. So yeah, I filled out the paperwork and I joined the team. And after that, like, the rest was like pretty much history, man. It was just like getting recognized, going places. It's strange. I'm still not used to it.
You know what I think is so amazing is that as you've continued to climb this ladder, you have stayed so humble to the people that have always been there for you. Like, you are very much the person that you are never going to forget who's been there for you along the way. You really respect your community, and I have so much respect for you on that, because I think that that's where a lot of people lose themselves, is that once they start getting that fame, that little bit of, it's, and like, to be completely honest, like, you're in a different ballpark than the people that you grew up with now. Like, it's not even like, so like, but honestly, it's like, would you bring half those people to meet the people that, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't jive the same way. So the fact that you're still able to chill with both sides and be as humble as you are is just amazing. So I got to give you congrats to that, because you have the most incredible story. So now you're in this partnership with Mike and CJ. Where does this kind of grow from here? And where does this take you to today? We want to hear this last bit, because it's the juice.
Like, so after that, we're doing all the expos you can imagine, traveling everywhere.
Wow.
And then I had a opportunity where my contract was coming to an end. So I was already with them for almost 3 years.
Okay.
And I have so many friends at Ghost. I have a bunch of guys at Ghost that I know, and I was trying to figure out what I was going to do. And I was talking to one of my boys. He's with Ghost. His name's Andrew. We're just chopping it up one day and just talking. And he's like, Like, what are you gonna do? I'm like, I don't know. And he was like, why don't you just come to Ghost? And I'm like, he said it so like nonchalant, like
obviously, right?
yeah. So I'm like, bruh, like they not going,
What?
like I'm not like Michael Jordan and like I can just go and call and make it happen. Like it's not that easy. So he was like, nah, man, he was like, it's time for you to come, like it's time for you to come home. And
Wow.
I'm like, all right, man. So I'm just like, look, like I'll see what I can do. So I messaged a couple of guys and he was like, he goes, let's have a business call on Thursday. So I'm like, all right. So I happen to be going to Vegas. We do a guys trip every year, me and my boys. So
Nice.
my best friend and I, we in the car and we driving to Vegas. And we're doing a business call. And I'm on the phone and I'm talking. And he's just like, the way he's like, yeah, man, like it's well overdue. And we should have did this a long time ago. And I'm like, what? So it's not computing to me.
Yeah.
Because this is like my dream brand. This is
That's
like
the thing.
it's not computing. And my boy is in the passenger seat. He's like patting me on the back and he's all excited. And I'm looking at him like, what are you excited? Like, what are you talking? What are you excited about? Like, what are you excited about? Nothing's happening. And he's like telling me, he's like, bro, they offered it to you. And I'm like, no, they didn't. What are you talking about? He's like, man, are you asleep? And I'm
like what's going on here?
I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, bro, he just offered you the spot. And then
Unreal.
he goes, he's like, so what do you think? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, all right, well, let's get the paperwork sent over. And I'm like, what the hell just happened? I missed like everything. Like I was in a
it was like you just got proposed to and you're like,
yeah.
I don't even know what you said, but I'm gonna say yes.
Yeah, I was just like, yeah, like absolutely. So yeah, since then it was just like, because this is my dream. It's my dream brand. It's my dream brand. That's my absolute favorite brand in the world.
And so you've been an athlete with them ever since.
Yeah, I've been athlete. So today will mark 6. Actually, that's funny. Today is a 6 month.
No way.
6 months. Yeah.
Well, very happy birthday to you then.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So now, do you want to tell us a little bit about Ghost in and of themselves? Just drop a little bit, because I know people are probably curious. You're saying how great this brand is. You know, you mentioned a little bit about supplements, but not everybody on here necessarily is fitness focused. Drop some goodies about where they could potentially find Ghost and you.
So you can go ghostlifestyle.com, and then they have a distribution center in Canada.
Oh, do they?
Yeah, they have a Canada. So ghostlifestyle.ca. I believe that's the Canada site.
Perfect.
My favorite thing though about Ghost is they have authentic collabs, so authentic flavor collabs. So they have they're partnered with a company called Mondelez. Mondelez is a big European company. Okay. They're the company that they own Chips Ahoy, they own Nutter Butter, they own Halls, they own Chiclets.
Wow.
They own they're a big dog. They own Taste Cookies. So Ghost has a partnership with them. So all of their protein, so they have Chips Ahoy Ghost protein. It's actually Chips Ahoy cookies inside of it.
Wow, that sounds delicious.
That's my favorite one. So they have Chips Ahoy protein. They have Oreo protein with actual crushed up Oreos inside of it.
So it's making it so easy to lose weight when you're eating a cookie in your protein. Am I right?
Absolutely. So I tell people this: if you, anybody watching this, if you have aspirations, of course you're a coach. If you have aspirations of losing weight or building muscle, if you're not ready to increase your protein intake, don't even do it. Because that's the thing. You can do whatever you. The thing is, the leaner you get, the tougher the appetite is going to kick in.
Yeah.
And that protein, that's what's going to be the protein in those veggies. That's what's going to keep you satiated and keep you full. That's
it's like so true. So if people wanted to support you, is there a support code that they can use to?
Yeah, you can just use my name. You can use Fred, Fred. You can put that in and it's nice and easy. So
perfect.
Yeah, man.
Well, I'm going to make sure that I log their websites as well as your support code on there. That's awesome. Amazing. So I know that you had mentioned that you are currently training now. This is you've stuck with this fitness lifestyle, decided to open up your own gym. Is that correct?
Yeah. So I have, like I said, I got my big old house I got my house right on the lake. I have a nice size garage. So it's full of equipment. It's a mini gym and everything like cable machines, squat rack. We have bench presses. We have row machines. dumbbells all the way up to 100, kettlebells, battle ropes.
So good. So do you do private one-on-one training in there?
Private.
Is it multiple people coming in? Tell us about the kind of
So
training that
I
you
have
do.
some people that I do train together. I have some husband and wives. I have athletes. I have a couple high-end people that you guys might know. I have a lot of people in the filmmaking industry.
Love it.
So I have some pretty big filmmaking industry clients.
Good for you.
Also do online. Yeah, it's a blessing. Like, it's a blessing. The most beautiful thing about training and coaching, it's a great way to give back.
Yeah, it
Like,
is.
it's a great way to give back, because I'm gonna tell y'all something. Like, I made great money doing what I do. I made great money being at a bank, but that stuff don't mean anything if your quality of life sucks. That's just reality. I'm sorry. Like, you guys can say whatever you want to. Let me tell you, you can lie to yourself however you want to lie to yourself. But I've been there. I've been on the other side.
And it almost took his life.
Yeah, seriously. I've walked up 10 stairs and felt like my heart was going to jump out of my throat. Like, I've done that, like, because I've been so out of shape. So all the money in the world doesn't do anything for that, for those moments. It doesn't do anything for those moments, like, or driving a nice car, or my girlfriend, she has 3 daughters from her previous marriage. They're my children now, of course.
Yeah.
But, like, it doesn't mean anything if you can't have a quality of life with your children. It means nothing. Honestly, it doesn't. I'm sorry. I don't mean to talk so direct, and I don't speak in very many absolutes, but these are absolutes.
That's an absolute. It is.
Yeah, these are absolutes. So, my mom is spoiled rotten. I spoil my mom, give her anything she needs, and then some. People ask me, what's my biggest regret of being that overweight, or what was one of my biggest motivators? My biggest motivator was my mom having to bury her son. I really felt that was like the most selfish thing that I could ever do to her.
Especially because you knew it was something that you could change.
That I could change. Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Wow.
My mom having to bury her. That's the idea of it is so selfish to me.
And that just goes to show how selfless he is, though, by seeing that his actions impact the ones around him. And taking accountability for that, right? And because sometimes we just get lost in our own little world, and whether it's pity, whether it's the fact that we are too busy to look after ourselves, whatever it is, we do end up becoming selfish, that nothing else really matters, right?
Absolutely.
So I'm beyond proud of you for what you have done to get yourself here, to realize that it's not just about money. And because you're so good with your advice, I'm wondering if you could potentially split up your advice a little bit here. So I'm wondering if you could give advice from your pretty much teenage years, your Azusa years, of what you would give to somebody who's out there grinding in that survival mode and potentially is looking at their life like, it doesn't really have a future. I'm just going day to day right now. What would you give them for advice?
Number one, have some accountability for the things that you do. A great word that I tell to my children all the time is self-mastery. You got to have self-mastery. Master yourself. You have to understand your strong points and your weak points. You have to be accountable for those strong points and those weak points, and stop putting your inability on someone else's ability. So just because somebody else can do something doesn't mean they have to, or it's not their fault if they're strong at something and you're weak at something and you want them to do the thing that they're strong at for you. That's not their fault.
Yeah.
Like, you gotta do it on your own. And it's tough. And it's put it like this. When you anybody out there, when you guys watch a movie or a TV show, do you guys like the TV show where it's like John was born rich. John got everything he needed in life. John cruised through life. John
got
happy.
Everything
he wanted. John died happy. The end. You're like, this is the stupidest movie ever.
Totally.
John was born. John was born into bad situation.
Yeah.
John grinded out of that situation.
Yeah.
John might have lost it again.
Yeah.
And then John got it back.
Well, and I think that a lot of us don't realize that in order to be good at something, we have to be bad to start. Right.
Absolutely.
And that, we all have strengths and we all have weaknesses. And as much as you want to go and say that you don't have any strengths, it's that you simply don't want to slow yourself down to assess what those strengths might be and how you can level yourself up, so that self-mastery can come by simply just taking some downtime to what are your values? What's important to you? What are things that you hone important in your community? You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
what are things that you stick up for the people around you? Like that's the kind of shit that builds you. Great advice for them. So now let's take people who are currently working their asses off in a job that they might not necessarily love. They're making a shit ton of money and it looks like they have the picture made for their future, but deep down inside, something's ticking and they're not necessarily as happy as they should be. What would you say to that person?
So I say this all the time. Find out what makes you happy and do it. I know it sounds so simple because it is so simple. Find out what makes you happy and do it. Life is that easy. Don't overthink, don't overcomplicate life. I have people, I tell them all the time, use your job to fund your dream.
Yeah.
Like it's nothing wrong with working a 9 to 5. I did it.
Yep.
I worked a 9 to 5. I did it. So
and sometimes you need to double stack that grind to get to where you want to go, right? And then to have that financial.
And learn lessons in the structure. When you're at those 9 to 5 jobs, there's lessons in the structure. There's a lot of lessons you can learn because eventually you're going to be somebody's boss. You're going to be somebody's boss too. And if you don't know how to lead, then what? You're just, you're not doing yourself a service. You're doing yourself a disservice.
Totally.
So yeah, the thing is, self-mastery, you have to ask yourself, are you doing what's required? Are you doing enough? Or are you doing what's required? Okay. You have to do what's required. You have to sacrifice what it takes to get things that you want. And if you're not, I tell people you're exactly where you are in life as your work ethic has put you. Period.
It's true.
Period. Point blank period. If I don't have something, now we all have underlying circumstances because that's life.
Yeah.
That's
absolutely.
life.
Well, and like what I think is so interesting that's going to bring us into our last piece of advice is the fact that you took yourself from a spot where nobody really wants to be in a day-to-day survival. Okay. You level yourself up to a position where you are getting catered on. You don't even need to move yourself. You're looking out the window at all the peasants pretty much. Right. And then though you choose to level up your life again, because it almost got taken away from you and you had the choice to continue on living the life that you were, or you could level up and do something different because it clearly wasn't working. And that's what you did again. Now, what is so interesting is that you leveled up so high in the sense that you created relationships that are, the kind of relationships that most of us in the fitness industry are dying to work our asses towards.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So not only did you now accomplish that, but you kept fucking going, man. Like you now grew into that vision of Ghost and obtain that. So now the piece of advice that I want is, how do you keep your grind flowing, your hustle so hard to make sure that you not only achieve your goals, but you stay there? Because I think that so many people achieve their goals and then kind of fall out, right? And don't stay at the level, but you just seem to keep growing.
So my kids are watching.
Oh, are they?
My kids, they're watching me.
And that's what you're like, hey, this is going to be my lessons every single day that I'm going to teach them is to show up.
My children watch me. Yeah, my kids. My oldest daughter's 10. You know what she told me about maybe like 8 months ago?
No.
I went and I put him in bed every night. It's one of my favorite things about being self-employed. I put him in bed every single night.
So sweet.
My oldest daughter told me one night, she said, Dad, she's 10. She said, Dad, when you leave this room, go get in the bed and go to sleep. She says, don't open your laptop.
Don't
go to bed because you deserve some rest. Okay? It's like she's 10. 10.
And she recognizes Dad needs some rest, hey?
She knows Dad busts his butt to get because I do what's required.
Yeah.
I do what's
not just enough.
No, not just enough. So my thing from where I'm from, we don't have any. Kanye West said it the best. He says, where I'm from, the dope boys are the rock stars. Like, that's where I'm from. So those was the people I had to look up to were people doing the wrong stuff.
Yeah.
So I have to have some self-mastery to realize that I'm the stopgap. I can make that stop.
What kind of hero do I want to be, right?
Yeah, exactly. So they can look up to something else different because I tell my fiance all the time, I'm in a position where this is a once in a lifetime thing. The people that I know in this industry, I mean, so this is another great example. So my Instagram, I have 14,000 on Instagram. My Instagram got hacked. I had to start over again, right? But the
Which
thing
like is
is
enough to like derail people. Okay. Going from 14,000
oh,
followers to
to starting
nothing.
over.
Okay.
What? This is literally like this is like having this is like having an electronic shop and you go to your shop the next day and it's burned down to the ground and you don't have insurance.
Yeah.
Like literally you start over. But the thing is, I know the tools that I've developed along the way. And I know how I treat people. So like I said, I have there's a guy that I follow. He said his grandmother always said, you be careful of the toes that you step on, because they might be connected to the leg that's connected to the butt that you got to kiss tomorrow. Okay. So you build good relationships. That's my thing. I know everyone. That's my ability in this industry. I know everybody. I know everyone. When you talk about, we can go anywhere. We can go with the huge brands like Microsheet and Ambrosia, CT Fletcher. That's a completely different side. We can go to Ghost. I know all the guys at Ghost. I know all the guys at Alphalete. I know all the guys at Anaka. I know these people. I know the trendsetters in these industries. So I build great relationships with people, genuine relationships with people. Mm-hmm. Yeah, genuine relationships.
That's why our relationship has continued the way it has.
Absolutely.
Is because you are genuine.
Yeah, and anybody who's using social media as a tool, let me say this, because you guys need to understand this. Power comes in collaboration on social media. Okay, it's literally. Have you ever drove down the street and you seen someone like on the corner selling something?
Yeah.
Okay, so say they're selling fruit. Okay.
Yeah.
Say they have oranges, bananas, and strawberries.
Okay.
Pretty much everyone eats oranges, bananas, and strawberries, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's safe to say.
Yep.
Now they go to the grocery store to get these things, right? Now, what if for 30 days, they all decided, you know what, we're going to buy his strawberries, bananas, and oranges. You can literally create a millionaire, like if you wanted to.
Yeah.
If you wanted to. That's how we have to look at each other, guys.
Is that keyword? Yeah.
Yes. So if he's selling bananas and oranges and strawberries, you buy it from him. If somebody's selling t-shirts, don't go to Target or Walmart. Go buy it from him.
Yeah. Support your people, man.
Exactly. And then it all goes together. It all goes together.
And I think that a lot of people are just, they're afraid to take that opportunity. Like you almost did as well, which I think is so interesting, is that if it wasn't for your girlfriend and if it wasn't for Mike hearing you mumbling under your tone, you know, what would have happened? You would not be where you are right now. From that, he almost missed the biggest opportunity in his freaking life, guys.
Absolutely.
So if that's not enough to remind you guys to take part in those opportunities. And like, I am always encouraging people, have the conversation, open up the conversation, because you will not believe the amount of partnerships that I've gotten in my time, the amount of, you know, just connections and relationships moving forward of people who are like, Sarah, you need something? Here's my number. You pick up the phone, you call me whenever you need anything. And I got people from all over the world like this. That is simply from not being afraid to have the conversation. So guys, I know that you guys have to be completely blown away by this story, because this is like once in a lifetime. I tell you, I can't imagine what your next 40 years are going to look like, my friend.
I'm looking forward to, I'm ready for grandbabies in the next like 10, 15 years.
There we go.
I need some grandbabies. That's what I need.
Keep that energy going and busy, hey. So what I want to know is, where can everybody find you to come check you out, maybe try you out for some online personal training, or if they're local, maybe try out your gym if they can? What would be the best way to get in contact with you?
You can Instagram. It's a underscore and it's the 200-pound down Don. It's underscores all the way through each word. So I will make sure that gets tagged in the show notes, so you can just click away to him. He's got some great content, always posting the video content as well. So every
guys,
day.
Got to go check it out. Thank you so much for your time, Frederick. I'm just so grateful to have you on here. And I know that we'll be staying in close contact. And I'm sure that we'll have you on again in the future with all the stuff that
Anytime,
you're up to. Okay.
anytime,
So
anytime.
thank you guys so much for tuning into today's show. And you know that I will catch you next